Are you getting ready to put your house on the market? Then you're going to need to figure out how to set the right price. The first thing you're going to want to do is talk to your agent and find out what the general market conditions are like. Have prices been going up or down? Are properties sitting on the market a long time? Are they selling really quickly? Is there a lot to choose from or not very much inventory at all? Those are the kinds of things that are data driven, and your agent should easily be able to give you some of that information. The next thing you're going to want to do is identify your pricing strategy. Do you want to go with a high price? Do you want to go right in the middle where the comp suggests your property probably should sell? Or do you want to go a little low? Well, there are different schools of thoughts and reasons to do one or the other. Pricing your house lower than you think it will sell for tends to generate a lot of interest, a lot of showings, and multiple bids. In most cases, a multiple bid situation results in a property selling for above list price. It can also, due to that competition, mean that you are more likely to get non-contingent offers, meaning ones that either don't have a financing and or appraisal contingency, and possibly offers that also don't have inspection contingencies. So pricing low can encourage some of those behaviors. If you price your house right where the comp suggests it will sell, you should, as long as it's marketed well, also get a fair amount of interest, and depending on the market where you are, you might even get multiple bids. If you price your house high, and there are reasons to do that, things look a little different. One of the most commonly cited reasons for a seller pricing a house high is that the seller wants to wait for the right buyer. Depending on the kind of home you have, that's not necessarily a bad strategy. If there's something about your property that is really unusual or unique, and you think that there are certain buyers out there that would really value those characteristics, then it might not be a bad idea to wait for just the right buyer. But if your house is more of a commodity, more similar to other things available, then that's probably not the best route to go. There are certainly some things you'll want to consider if you're talking about putting a higher price point on your house than what the comps suggest. The first is that you may need to reduce it if it doesn't sell. A lot of sellers have the feeling that, okay, if that ends up not selling, then they'll reduce it. But you should be aware that houses that have had price reductions tend to sell for less than even the new reduced price. And part of the reason is that people have seen that it was reduced, which lets them know that there was not a mad dash to grab it, and they tend to offer even less than whatever the list price is lowered to. Similarly, it's important to recognize that in most marketplaces, if a house is on the market for more than about 10 to 14 days, the number of showings and the amount of interest drastically goes down after that 10-day to 2-week period. So if you haven't sold your house within that time frame, recognize that there is going to be much less interest and many fewer showings, which again leads to lower offers. Another thing that people sometimes say is, well, I may be pricing it high, but if somebody's interested, they can always make me an offer. This is something that sellers don't often think about, but if the price is really egregiously high, consider this scenario. You're living in a house that's worth $500,000, and you'd like to move up to something bigger, a little better. The likelihood is that you're not going to get something appreciably different for $510,000 or $520,000. So maybe you're looking at homes that start at $650,000 for it to make enough of a difference for a move to be worthwhile. So you go look at a house that's priced at $650,000 and you think it's really overpriced. Now that seller may be thinking, okay, so they could offer me $575,000. But the reality is, if you're living in a house that's worth $500,000, a house that's worth $575,000 probably isn't going to really interest you because it's not going to be enough of a difference, enough of an improvement for it to make a move worth it. So even if you could get that house that's priced at $650,000 for $550,000, you might not even want it. So sellers need to look at it from that perspective and recognize that if they price it too high, they're bringing in the wrong buyers. They're bringing in the buyers who are looking for a house that has a value, in our example, of $650,000. So if they bring in someone who values that house at $550,000, that buyer doesn't want that house at any price. So you're just bringing the wrong buyers in. The most valuable tool that your agent has at her disposal when pricing your house is the comps. So when you're looking at comparable properties, you want to make sure that your agent looks at solds, pending or under contract properties, and actively listed properties. The solds give the most accurate information about value because you can see what a house actually sold for, not necessarily what somebody was asking for. It also is going to be what affects the appraisals most directly. If you price your house much higher than what it's likely to appraise for, with appraisals being based on the recent homes that have sold, then you risk having a deal fall apart even if somebody does give you the price you're looking for, if it turns out that their lender is not going to give them the money because the house doesn't appraise. So sold comps are definitely the main concentration, but pended and active under contract listings give an idea of how quickly things are selling. How long have those been on the market? Which, even though you don't know what they're going to sell for, if they've been on the market just a few days, the likelihood is that they sold at or above list price. When you look at active comps, those are the other things that are for sale. That information is important not only because you can see what other houses that are similar to yours are currently being priced at, but you can also see how many there are. If there are several homes just like yours in a very small geographical area, that is not good news for you. If there's nothing nearby or nothing that is remotely like yours, as long as yours is not particularly unusual, that's good news. Because again, if it's somewhat of a commodity, not super dissimilar from its neighbors, it means that if there aren't a lot of others available, yours is going to be more in demand. This video was intended just to be a short overview of pricing strategy. Obviously, you'll want to talk to your agent, and all of the local specifics are going to come into play, and your agent will be able to give you a much more nuanced understanding of pricing strategy in your area.